Just saying. Just saying. All right, I'm going to start this episode with a question. How hard do you think it would be as an actor working on a set that didn't exist in reality? Now, add to that, you have no props and no set pieces that would help you visualize this unreal environment. That, my friend, is the impossible task of a green screen actor. Hi, I'm Joe Scacciaferra, creator and CEO of Ferrocity. So the other day I happened to be talking to a friend of mine who works in special effects out on the West Coast, and that question came up. So that got me thinking, how crazy would it be to function in a world that has no tangible or physical boundaries? Then it hit me. Everyone has been able to do that at one point in their life. We call it pretending. You'll remember pretending. You make up a story or an adventure. Maybe you're an explorer in a jungle, an astronaut on a planet, or an Olympic athlete. You could even be an eagle flying through the mountains. Or maybe a lawyer in a courtroom. Not sure about the lawyer in the courtroom, but somebody must have pretended that, right? The point is, when you did these things, you effortlessly created an environment and then became part of that environment. Even though at the time, you might have been in your friend's yard, in a barn, maybe in the basement of your house. It didn't matter where you were in the reel. You were able to transport yourself and your friends into this new world, a world that had nothing to do with the reality around you. You and I played, well, together we didn't, but you played, I played, everybody played, all day making up stories. You actually became the characters in those stories. You were able to bring everything to life. Like a bunch of random toys became your best friend, or a shell from the beach told you stories about life in the ocean. Even a stick could become a guitar, or a laser, or a magic wand. You'd fall asleep at night thinking about some wacky machine that allowed you to do all sorts of things. Travel in space, swim under the water, fly like a bird, maybe even be invisible. Personally, as I said, I love flying like a hawk through the canyons in the Rocky Mountains. Rocky Mountains? I grew up in New Jersey. I knew nothing about the Rocky Mountains. But that's just how cool your brain was in those days. When you see young kids playing or pretending, you gotta be amazed at how real that imaginary life becomes. They are so committed to their world and their characters that you almost can see their world just watching them play. What the hell happened to that creative muscle? How did we lose it? I guess, like all muscles, use it or lose it. So am I saying grab a bunch of your friends, take a boat out into the bay and play pirates? Yeah, it would be awesome. It's never going to happen, at least not with the commitment those kids have. Okay. So what's this long-winded point I'm going after? In order to stay uniquely creative and expressive, we need to exercise those creative muscles as often as we exercise every other muscle, or as often as we're supposed to exercise our other muscles. So how do we do that without getting thrown into a padded cell? You're not going to be able to be crawling around outside and have nobody notice as an adult. But it's simple. Change your physical POV. POV, point of view. Physical POV, POV. Your physical POV is, yeah, I know, I keep repeating it. Yeah, your physical POV. Here's what I mean. This POV is how we visually see the world around us. As adults, we have basically 3 positions we typically view the world from. Standing upright, sitting upright, laying down on a couch or a bed. Now, remember when you were a kid, how many physical positions did you view the world in? Think about it. You could have been outside laying on your stomach watching a bunch of ants dig a hole. Maybe you were sitting on a rail in the front of your house making up stories about every and anything that passed your way. Or how about sitting on a couch? This is one of my favorites. How about sitting on a couch upside down with your feet hung over the backrest and your head hanging towards the floor? Then you look up and pretend you're walking on the ceiling. Come on, we all did that. I loved thinking about walking on the ceiling. I would actually go through like doorways and have to step over the up. Okay, never mind. I got one, another one. Spinning around in a circle until you fall down, and then you have to hang onto the floor so you don't fall off it. How about running across the yard or down the block as fast as you can for no apparent reason? Okay, two more. Hiding under the dining room table, pretending you were a family dog, or creeping in a crawl space under the front porch like you were some kind of deadly snake. I'm sure you could come up with dozens more. I know I can. The point is, while you were pretending, you were developing your imagination, which in turn energizes and expanded that creative muscle. So am I saying you need to hide under a table in order to write a screenplay? No. Maybe. Yes. Sorta. Kinda. I'm definitely not saying climb under a table during a production meeting on the set of ABC Nightly News, or even in your lawyer's office while you're negotiating the royalties of your next book contract. What I am saying is find an appropriate time and a place to get under that table. Literally, get under a table, climb a tree, roll down a hill in the grass, crawl under your bed. I know, sounds nuts, right? But I'm serious. Do it. And if you do it right, it works. The key is remembering to do things with new eyes. If you go under the bed and you just see dust and an old bed frame, that's not going to help. You need to kick in your imagination. Become, a curious mouse or a scared dog. Hey, maybe you're a kid hiding from his parents because you just flooded the bathroom. Well, I guess that's not really pretending for me. But anyway, let's keep moving. The key is you got to see the world the way your characters see them. You got to feel what they feel. Think what they think. Live in that world. It's imagination. If you don't think this really works, or if you don't think I don't really do these things, you'd be way wrong. Go spend some time with my crew and my friends. I'm sure they have more than their share of stories to tell you about. Okay, fact. Here are a couple that come to mind for me. The first one was on the set of a network broadcast show. Right before my team meeting, I climbed up to the top of the office door and sat up there for the whole meeting. Why? Because our meetings were getting stale. I needed to address our agenda from a different point of view. It not only changed my POV, but it changed the entire team's POV. Seeing your boss sitting on top of a doorway definitely would change your thinking. Okay, the next one was during a show development meeting. The meeting started out with no fresh ideas. Everyone sat quietly and no one would make eye contact with me. You know those meetings, right? I knew we were dead in the water and nothing was going to come out of this. But I also knew I had to kickstart this somehow. So, what do you think I would do? I told everyone to stand up and climb onto the table. They could either sit or stand. I didn't really care, but they had to do it on the table. Without any more explanation, I started the meeting. Now, first, they were a little creeped out, but eventually, things really kicked in. New ideas started flowing left and right. Here's one of my favorites. You're truly not going to believe this, but it happened. So, I'm backstage working a major concert. I needed a few minutes of quiet isolation to solve a critical and timely problem. This was a big deal. If you've ever been backstage at a stadium during a show, you know there is no quiet places. But I knew in order to solve this problem, I had to get deep into my head with no distractions, and I needed that new POV. So I looked around, and then I found the perfect place, inside a large empty road case. So I climbed in, closed the lid, and went to work. Within a few minutes, solved the problem. Yeah, and by the way, I had one of my crew stand outside just in case somebody came by and locked the case and then moved it into the truck. Again, I'm not suggesting you do that. Or I'm saying is sometimes you need to change your physical POV to kickstart your creative juices. It's these shifts in perspective that create amazing shifts in creative thought. Oh, and yeah, problem solving is also creative thought. I know all this sounds like some West Coast hipster nonsense, or I'm just full of shit. Neither is true. First off, remember, I'm the furthest thing from West Coast hipster you're ever going to find. And as far as my stories, my career is so bizarre, my life is so bizarre, that I couldn't make up stories that were anywhere near as good as the ones I've lived. I'm just saying, this stuff makes sense and works. Bottom line, you need to change the surroundings, at least the way you see your surroundings. Give yourself the freedom to tilt the world. By the way, none of this is taken from human behavior books or psychological studies. These are just my proven personal experience and observations that work. Come on, it's not hard to understand. When you're young, 80% of your lives were spent exploring your imagination. Pretending was cool and put us on the path that we're following today. Unfortunately, as we got older, we neglected to develop our creative muscles. We spent less time pretending and more time believing what we were told. Pretending is for kids and it's inappropriate for adults. Horseshit. The result is, as adults, we were called to create. When somebody says you have to create today, because that's our business, we now have to close our eyes and create from memories, rather than, as kids do, eyes wide open, collaborating with the real and the imaginary. That's really creative. Regaining that wonder is actually easy. Relax. Have some fun with changing your physical POV. When kids are hanging upside down and laughing their asses off, they don't worry about the story details. They're the structure of the adventure. They're just enjoying the moment and doing what comes naturally and doing what comes instinctively. That's still part of us. Those kids are amazed at the simple things in the world around them. And they actually see those simple things that we overlook every day. Left alone, those kids can collaborate and create with each other so much better than we do. Their abilities to spontaneously create the worlds around them and stories blows me away. I'm not saying kids should be running the world or that kids don't need adult supervision. They do. Believe me, I raised 3 of them. My point is, as creative adults, we need to constantly reignite our youthful excitement and curiosity. Stop listening to those who tell you otherwise. Okay, here's the 2 simple points to remember. 1, constantly exercise your creative muscles via your physical POV with people who get it. You're doing it with other people, you're going to feel uncomfortable, they're going to feel uncomfortable. Be around real people who get this. And 2, pretending is 100% appropriate and 100% beneficial and 100% necessary. Got it? Cool. I'm Joe Scacciaferro. Just saying. Ciao.